Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to the 2022 Lean in Higher Education Conference. Thank you for attending this session, which is the discomfort of improvement in a pandemic and which will be run as a workshop over the next hour. My name's Anita Ashland and I will be the moderator of this session. Some quick housekeeping. Please stay on mute during the presentation and you are more than welcome to turn your camera on so that we can see everyone. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to put them in the chat or raise your hand. Please note that the presentation is being recorded. Now, please allow me to introduce the presenters of this session. It's my honour today to welcome Glennon, Peter Willoughby and Dan Moylan. Now, over to our presenters for what is sure to be a great workshop.
Thank you for that beautiful introduction, Anita. Welcome to our session, The Discomfort of Improvement in Pandemic. And what an absolute privilege and honour it is to present to such amazing brains. I've had an absolute blast since 3 o'clock Melbourne time yesterday. Really lovely to be here. First, I'll do an acknowledgement to country. RMIT acknowledges the people of the Woiwurrung and Boonwurrung language groups of the Eastern Kulin Nations, on whose unceded lands we conduct the business of the university. RMIT University respectfully acknowledges their ancestors past and present. RMIT also acknowledges the traditional custodians and their ancestors of the lands of Australia where we conduct our business. Welcome everybody, and people from Canada, thank you so much. So great to have people from all over the world. It really is a privilege. Today, we're going to be talking about the discomfort of improvement in a pandemic, and particularly we're posing the question, we don't have the answers, how do we continue to be effective CI practitioners and deliver improvements in the new environment that we face? But first, some little introductions. We are in the continuous improvement team at RMIT, and what we've designed today should give you a bit of food for thought if we get our job right. We're having just a brilliant time at this conference, as I said before, and we've heard quite a bit of chat around the traps of how people went during the pandemic, and quite a few interesting moments around that. This is an innovative workshop for us and our practitioner friends to get us all thinking about the practice of CI in a pandemic and the changes this has wrought now and into the future. So we pose the question today, how do we continue to be effective CI practitioners in the new space we find ourselves in? We'll be looking at the past, so we're getting in a bit of a time machine, the near past, and we'll be doing some workshopping around what the world might look like in 2025 and what we can do in the new space. We hope you get some tools and some tricks out of this chat and hopefully some laughs. We think we're hilarious, so hopefully you're laughing along with us. First, some intros. As I said, we're from RMIT, the Royal Melbourne Institute of Technology, a university in the extremely beautiful best city in the world, Melbourne. And we love our coffee, we love our sport, and it is absolutely lovely, great city to live in, come and visit. RMIT itself has around 11,000 staff and about 95,000 students. And our function in RMIT is the program and project area of operations, where we support staff to provide a quality experience to our students. So that throughput to student experience being very much our mainstay. Intros to us. I'm Michelle, proud Kiwi girl, lived in Australia nearly 20 years. I'm a manager of CI at RMIT. And on today's theme of timelines, I want you all to get your imagination and creative caps on and think about a time that you could travel back to if you could. Now, I had a couple of things that I wanted to travel back in time to. One was 1963 Dallas, so I could have my own opinion about what happened. But on a happier note, I think if I could travel back in time, it would be to the Live Aid concert in 1985, so I could see Queen at their best. I think that would have been fabulous. Dan, if you could travel back, where would it be into?
Hey, thanks, Michelle. Thanks for the ripping intro. My name's Dan, and I'm a continuous improvement manager at RMIT as well, but we've covered that one. I'm just really pumped to have this session with you all. Like there's a lot of emerging leaders in this room and we're all investing in ourselves at this conference. And we just want to create a little bit of selfish space to say, well, what's happening in the near future and what are we going to do to get ourselves prepared for it? Where do we see ourselves growing and developing in the future so that we're, on top of things? I'd love to give a shout out to our 4th and 5th co-presenters, Anita and Sally. Thanks for everything that you do. You're amazing at it. And look, Michelle, I know this one's a bit off script, but I think I'm going to join you at Live Aid. I think I should be saying something about the Cretaceous era or some stuff like that, but stuff it. Let's go and see Freddie one last time.
Yeah,
or
fantastic.
for the first time. Over to you, Pete.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. It's great to see you. I'm absolutely loving being in a conference. It's been so long since I've been to a conference and to be able to sort of share that sort of learnings and stuff with everybody. Would have been great to be face-to-face, but I get a real buzz out of learning, and that's what we do as CI practitioners. We're learning so much, and I learned so much yesterday, which is really cool. So hopefully we can sort of take you on a bit of a journey here. Very excited about that. For me, if I was going to go back in time, I've got to be influenced by my wife, who absolutely loves the big dresses and the dancing of the 50s. So the big bands and all that sort of stuff, which have been absolutely fantastic. For me, if I was back in time, then it would be, you know, I'd have some hair to slick back and do some of that sort of stuff, which would be great. I'm sort of close to the 50s when I was actually born, but not that close. But it would have been a great time. Or I sort of have these visions of Greece and all this sort of stuff, which sounded like a really great time. So if I could live back in there, I would be there. But looking forward to chatting to you all. So it's great. So thank you, Michelle.
Fantastic. Thanks, guys. And we've got some nice messages in the chat. The disco era, that would have been a pretty cool era, I think, as well. That's actually close to when I was born. Back to today's agenda. So next slide, please, Anita. What we'll be doing today is taking a look at what's gone on in recent decades with continuous improvement and having a bit of reflection moment too, which is really lovely. But then we get to the real heart of the session and we do some brainstorming around the future of continuous improvement. In particular, how do we continue to be effective as practitioners in a time of disruption, particularly with hybrid working? First, we're going to be going back a little bit in time, about 17 years with Pete, and talking about what was going on in CI in 2005, and then speeding forward to the recent past of 2018. It doesn't feel that long ago, but then you think it's before COVID. The world was pretty different. Dan will be talking about that. And then we're going to speed forward in our DeLorean and go back to the future with me, Michelle, and we're going to look at 2025. What we want you to get out of this workshop, we want you to have some fun, make some friends or mates, as we call them in Melbourne, and maybe think about planning for the future and hopefully have some giggles. Note, if you thought we were going to come with the answers for the future, I can't do that. I'm not psychic, nor is Dan or Pete. We don't have the answers for you. All we're doing is facilitating a bit of a chat. And what we'd like you to leave this room with is some thoughts around the future and how you might meet it and what tools and tricks you might apply. So now I'm going to hand you over to my good friend, Peter Willoughby, and he's going to talk a bit about 2005.
Thanks, Michelle. Hi again, everybody, and welcome back. For the year, that song you heard at the start, Love Generation, that was actually a 2005 song. For some of you driving that old Falcon car, we will trip probably to the unknown, a little trip down memory lane, or even some glimpses of some content that you may have a fleeting knowledge of. So while we're chatting, let's find out, where were you in 2005? So there's a poll that's going to appear, I think, Anita, to ask you a little bit about where you were in 2005. So have a chance to give me an indication. Hopefully not many of you were kids, because that'll make me feel very, very old. Or even at school, oh my God, okay. We'll see where that lands. I have to do one too. I was working, very much so. Okay, so thank you. We'll have a look at that little poll a little bit later. But let's have a look, from a world's perspective, what were world events around 2005? Even more recently, I suppose the royal family were in the spotlight for passing of the Queen. But did you know in 2005, this was the year that our now King Charles married Camilla Parker Bowles. In the cinemas, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire is where Harry comes face to face with that now vision of Voldemort. Climate change was a big discussion point. But in 2005, the Kyoto Protocol actually came into effect. And finally, and this is probably the most interesting, this was when the first ever video was uploaded into YouTube, was 2005. From the world of technology, it actually was a banner year for releasing of gadgets, gaming buffs, the Xbox 360 was launched. There were no iPhones. However, the business tool many managers was the BlackBerry. It was a keyboard with a little scroll that allowed you to text and call and email, which was really cool at the time. For personal use, the Nokia phone was the most popular. The small handheld device with a rather limited number of ringtones to choose from, multi-layered functions that seem to store so many functions, only if you dare to play with them. No instructions though, unfortunately. And finally, RFID technology was born back in 2005. Sort of starting from there, off we went to barcodes and all those wonderful things that we've got now. Okay, so what was happening in CI more broadly in 2005? So Lean Six Sigma, so Six Sigma, Lean Manufacturing, and Balanced Scorecard were actually the tools that people used. CI started to spread its wings around the big banks in Australia, telecommunications and other service type industries, using GE as probably the benchmark for Six Sigma. Lean manufacturing was led by Toyota, or the Toyota way as they call it, but it was not adopted by service, but we actually did start to see some emergence of Lean Six Sigma. 95% of improvement projects were face-to-face, using the same tools that we have today, flip charts, post-it notes, overhead projectors. There was no central body to govern Six Sigma, like there was for project management. Each company developed versions of the same material, including self-certification, reusing the GE and Motorola concepts. Certification on Six Sigma was the prestige at the time, and it was sought out when looking at candidates for employment. We don't need to click, we can click back if you like. So where did our organisation need from us? Our focus was actually, as a CI practitioner, was on delivering cost out and revenue enhancements. The stigma that actually created was that Six Sigma or CI was actually seen as a cost-cutting tool. And therefore, there was a bit of a reluctance to engage with staff because the fear that the toe cutters were actually here. We set KPIs for cost savings and included bonuses in achieving these. And the challenge we faced was keeping the CI professionals in the organisations once they were certified, as they understood their value actually in the market. So where did we apply our trade? Well, we had a pipeline of work from the PMO. The CI team reviewed the strategic and tactical projects to find what would suit the Six Sigma methodology. An example being that as a CI team member, I was asked to join a strategic project as a change manager, given my background. We used DMATE. We trained, coached and mentored and certified GB staff and green belt staff levels. So the challenges I faced were actually only a small number of meeting rooms had video conferencing facilities, or even polygon phones, if you remember those. It also depended on the other venue being equipped the same. You did not have the ability to do this in your own computer. Most CI professionals had laptops, but most other staff had desktop computers. So the question I quickly into the chat you could sort of respond was, who's actually facilitated a workshop using conference call only? Story I can share with you, given my age, of course. I was running a workplace safety program, or what we will know now today's 5S, if you know your lean. For retail stores were quite remote and only had one operator, or to a large number had many operators. Not being able to share anything online, I had to ensure that the pack I was presenting was emailed out prior to the workshop, including an agenda. I had to track the email to ensure I was opened, do a roll call, and then walk through the pack stating the page that actually was on, occasionally asking a question for response and using a round robin technique to get them to contribute. The challenges was not knowing who was paying attention, not doing their emails, or even actually there. I even had someone serve a customer while we were actually on the call, which was an interesting thing. So to summarize, 2005, like we said, what was happening? Well, this prestige was definitely around certification, and we're relying on the companies themselves to monitor their own how they use Six Sigma. So how do we apply? Project management, DMATE, CI, we're looking for the right project and methodology, and obviously we had to deal with the existing technology that we had. And finally, what did they actually need from us as CI professionals? Well, they wanted us to focus on cost out and revenue, which was an interesting time. So I hope this little trip back to 2005 was a valuable insight. So let's move further ahead in time into 2018, and your guide on this journey will be Dan. So thank you.
Hey, thanks, Peter, for that trip down memory lane. That story about the conference call, it's the third time I've heard it. It still just blows me away. But hey, greetings and welcome to 2018. I'm going to be your host in this time. My name's Dan. And while I'm talking away, we're just going to chuck that poll up again to get a bit of a feel for 2005 to 2018. What's changed for you? Are you still a kid? Have you progressed in your career? Bonus points for telling us some really embarrassing stories about stuff you're doing in 2018 in the chat. We're really, really looking to hear some of those ones. So what was going on in 2018? The song we just heard a clip of was Confidence by Ocean Alley. I'd literally never heard it before this week, but it was the #1 song in Australia in 2018. And some other things that are really sort of decisively 2018 was Peter mentioned, I'm going to answer this one for myself so I can see the screen again. Peter mentioned that YouTube kicked off in 2005, but by 2018, there's no Nokias anymore. We're all elbows deep in apps and in social media. And we've actually just found out that those social media companies are doing some pretty cheeky stuff with our data. They're selling it off to the highest bidder, and we're kind of wondering whether we care about our privacy or not anymore, but we're feeling a bit pissed off at the same time. But those same social media platforms are allowing social issues to really swell into global movements. So we had Greta went on strike for climate change for the first time in 2018. And while the Me Too movement technically kicked off in 2017, it really entered that sort of global consciousness in 2018. So yeah, we're sort of, we're half real life, half social media by this stage. So, you know, all I've done so far is kind of prove to you all that I know how to Google. But we probably need to answer the question, why 2018? We think it gives us that really nice contrast, 2005, 2018. We can see how things have changed and evolved. But it's also really conveniently pre-COVID. So when we shift to 2025 in a sec, we'll be able to look from we'll be able to turn around and look from 2025 to 2018 through that lens of COVID, and we'll say what's been disrupted, what's evolved, what hasn't. So we just really want to frame this one around 2018. We're going to drop you into some rooms pretty soon. We've been doing a little bit too much talking, and it's nearly your turn to start chatting about 2018 and where you are and what you were doing. But before we do, I just want to pick up on a few themes that Peter dropped for 2005, just to help sort of frame up that next discussion. We'll just jump on. Oh no, we're on that slide. Awesome. So what was happening in our profession? Pete told us that there were very, very few organizations producing Lean Six Sigma accreditation, and that it was hugely prestigious to be a master black belt. By 2018, Lean has well and truly broken out of those few traditional manufacturing and product type, that environment, and it's really well established in those, so from product to service type industries, and higher education is a really good example of that. And as it shifted to the service world, it's really detached itself from its old buddy Six Sigma, and in that service space, it's starting to really mesh itself up against those human-centered design disciplines, which have really matured significantly in that same time frame. So, as us as practitioners in 2018, we're starting to pick apart those two disciplines and ask ourselves how we're going to use these to wrestle with those more service-centric problems that we're dealing with. If anyone's really interested in that topic of, how lean and HCD come together, there's a session tomorrow at 2:20, led by Catalina Bonavia. It's the application of lean and design to improve the student experience. I've been really fortunate to work with Cata in the past, and I'll be tuning into that one. Just really looking forward to hear her sort of wrestle us through those topics, because they're a real passion of hers. So yeah, 2018, lean's broken out of product, and it's well established in those service settings. And in those settings, it's less paired up with its traditional partner Six Sigma, and it's with those human-centered design disciplines. So next question is, what did our organisations need from us? Pete told us fair and square, it was just cost out and financial savings in 2005. We still care about that stuff in 2018, but adding to that is student experience, probably industry experience and research experience, depending on your university. And the reason for that is that the market's changed. There's all these different players in there, and students are starting to say, hey, maybe we don't want bricks and mortar. We don't want to go to those traditional settings anymore. Maybe we want on demand. Maybe we want a small, quick little guide. Maybe we want this and maybe we want that. And our institutions are trying to figure out how to keep up. So they're asking us, what is that target student experience, and how do we move and evolve? So yeah, cost out still matters, but we're much more experience focused. Third and final point before we say goodbye to you really quickly. How did we apply our trade in 2018? I just want to talk really, really practically about the day-to-days of it. Pete told us that just mad story about facilitating a workshop over the phone, but also said that, look, generally the case was in a room, post-it notes, whiteboards, and that's still us in 2018. We're dabbling in, we've got Skype, we've got Zoom, that sort of thing, but it's on the periphery. We're still building trust in the room. We're still engaging in the room, and we're expected to cross town to be in that room, or jump on a flight and cross cities to be in that room, generally speaking. To the point where we looked this one up, this exact same conference in 2018, which was in Norway, and we all would have jumped on a flight and met over there, and we all would have had network drinks afterwards, and we all would have got a little bit carried away. We all would have woken up a bit dusty the next day, but no one would have been sitting in this space watching online. It would have been a physical thing. Okay, so they're the sort of the themes that we wanted to establish. But now it's your turn. We're going to drop you into some rooms. You've got 5 minutes for this breakout, and we've got one for 2025. And we're wrestling with those three questions. So 2018, what was happening in our profession? What did our organisations need from us? And how did we apply our trade? Best of luck. We'll see you really soon. We'll have a quick snapshot of those discussions, and then we'll off to 2025.
Man, so many people got to go to Norway. So jealous. Feel like we need music in this bit too.
Need the old elevator music while the breakout rooms are. Yeah.
Will we just go to our breakout
Girl
rooms?
from Ipanema. Dun, dun, dun,
Spare
dun,
us.
dun, dun.
Will we just get dropped in? So yeah, we will. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I think it's just because there's so many people.
Of course.
It
No,
takes
that's
a
cool.
while
That went pretty
to-
quick. Yeah. How are we doing for time? 10:40.
Not bad.
Michelle, did you want me to drop you in one?
Yeah, go on. Just random. Thank you.
Oh, we're bang on. Oh, we're a minute behind.
We're a minute behind.
Was that me? Was it? Did I hit that minute?
Oh, don't think so. I think it was me. But that's okay. I think we're fine.
You can say me. I had at least 30 seconds at the start.
I'll have a we can. the playback isn't for us, it's for them. So I'll ask 2 people, and then we'll get them to the meet, which is 2025. I was going to take a bio break while we can.
What time are we back?
Back by 44, I reckon, so that we're.
So you're back in before they come through.
There's 3 more minutes, it says, on the timer.
Yeah, it goes quick. Well, thank you for the getting through the clicks. Apologies, I suppose it's just my old school notion on the basis when I used to be training people, I had to have control of the clicks. I couldn't do the timing thing because
I lost it at one point there with you, Pete, but I think I salvaged it.
No, that's all right. You just jumped ahead of me, and I saw it up on the screen, and it just sort of threw me a bit. But that's okay.
Oh, good.
It's
good.
It's a tough old job that all of you are doing. So it's exciting, but it would have been so good to be on campus. It would have been so
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I'm assuming that everyone's you're doing what we're doing in relation to sort of a couple of days in the office, a couple of days on site, a couple of days off site.
Yeah, I think that's quite common.
Yeah. I don't know if I'll ever see the office full again. So if I ever want to see people, I just walk up to the campus and walk around so I can actually see some people.
Just catch a train, that'll help.
Oh yeah, I do, but I don't mind that actually. I still get a seat, which is really cool, so I like that. But I suppose if you're catching a train, you got to catch a tram to work as well. Is that right?
Oh, I actually walked up here from Melbourne Central today, and it was just a lovely, just under 15-minute walk.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Which was really nice.
Yes, well, you've got to enjoy the sun while you can.
Yeah, that's true.
Got something to say? Make a professional.
Hello.
Sorry, I'm just going to let that ad go through because I don't have a
shop for high quality podcast creation. Our online studio is packed with amazing features.
You don't have a Spotify account.
Because I don't have a Spotify account.
No, you're like me. I'll deal with the I'll deal with the
sign up for free.
My daughter tells me off.
That was good timing during a break, though.
It was.
They have about 45 seconds left.
Okay.
That was perfect timing.
45 seconds
Awesome.
left. Just right on time.
So I'll just talk to 2 people, and then after that, I'll just thank everyone for their chat, and I'll introduce Michelle for 2025. And then just as I'm talking, we can go really loud with the Star Wars themes.
I realised that wasn't loud enough before.
Oh no, that's all right. I just
I've
realised
cranked it
we
up
had
just now, so it's gonna blast them.
Good. Good. Hopefully it embarrasses Michelle a bit too.
So as you introduce her, I'll blast it.
Yeah, I don't think you can embarrass Michelle, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, just as I start talking about, I'll wrap this bit up, and then as I'm handing over to her.
Yeah.
In 2025.
Cool.
Cool. We got our numbers back, or are we still drifting in?
I think they're still drifting in. They should
Cool.
be coming back. Looks like we've almost got everyone back now.
Ripper. Keen to hear how these sessions went. We all good, do we think, Anita? Sally? Cool.
Yep, good to go.
Hey, I bet that didn't feel like 5 minutes, so very sorry for that, but the timekeepers tell us that it indeed was. So those discussions are they're for you, but we want to just grab a quick snap of how they went in there. And I did just notice that we have Catalina on the call, so I feel a bit embarrassed for singing her praises in front of her. But Cata, how did your conversation evolve? Where did you head in that 5 minutes?
We talked about the time when we worked together at RMIT, on employee experience, and Tracy also mentioned about her work in Charles Sturt University. She was leading the implementation of a CRM, always challenging to change those big things in universities. And I was very surprised to see that she was already doing online workshops. So COVID didn't surprise her that much.
Yeah, nice. It was yeah, there'd be so much nuance from area to area with the different technology and stuff. So good to get a different point of view. We've also got our host with the most on the call. Where are you, Steph? There you are. Who led us in so expertly yesterday. Hey, how did your little group get along?
Well, it's just the two of us. I met Taruna. She's lovely, and we kind of did a bit of a speed network, which was
we love Taruna.
Yes, yeah. Another RMIT colleague. But in terms of the questions, at Melbourne in the CI space, in that worked with Taruna and I we worked out that we were both on mat leave in 2018, which is quite funny. But at the uni, I think we were really trying to gain the trust of some of our colleagues in the CI space to be able to kind of reassure them that it wasn't just a flash in the pan like type of work, and that it was actually going to have lasting impressions. I think the organisations needed, like what our organisation needed from us was to deliver, so that it was more than just words, if that kind of makes sense. And so trust was a big thing in applying trade, because it was, you're telling me that this is important, you're telling me that this is about experience, and you're telling me that this is going to be really good, but show me that it's going to work. Yeah, that was my experience of it in 2018.
Yeah, I think that's a lovely little thought to pin on 2018, because I imagine that one's going to be really different now, and in 2025 with we may have been forced into a much more uncomfortable and disrupted version of that. Hey, awesome stuff. We don't want to ruin the big crescendo. So thanks for that. Hold on to all of those thoughts, and they're foundations that we're going to build on in the next session. So without further ado, I'm going to hand you back to Michelle, who's going to be your host in 2025. Take it away, Michelle. Bring us home.
I just want everybody to know I didn't ask for the Star Wars music, okay? I mean, I adore Star Wars. I'm a complete nerd, but I didn't ask for it. Okay, so now, thank you very much for participating in those breakouts. That was fantastic. What we're going to do now is get a bit more imaginative, and we're going to look into the future, the near future. So we have to hop in our DeLorean. I'm sure most of you will know this pop culture reference from Back to the Future, and step forward 3 years, actually just two and a bit, to 2025. Now, thoughts on this? There are a few things that we can probably reasonably predict about 2025. But conversely, the last 2.5 years have taught us anything. We really don't know what's coming next. I think along with COVID, we can all probably say something good or not so good may have cropped up on life's journey that we weren't expecting, and that's changed our lives in whatever way. On my personal experience, I wasn't expecting to spend 2.5 years at home with my dogs and not being able to go back to New Zealand, and I'm in no way unique. So thinking about, I'll just find this out, what will HE organisations need now and into the next 3 years? So we started with 2005. We were all face-to-face. We've got a great little animation here. We love these. Keep going. Thank you. So it was all face-to-face. Nothing was online. We were all in person. unless, of course, you have one of those little polygon things that Pete was talking about. And then in 2018, we moved forward to a little bit of flexibility. Most people are in face-to-face, but, you know, there might be a number of people who can work remotely, and that seemed to be generally acceptable, but not the norm. Then the big germ of 2020 hit, and we were all fully online. Everything was like this. We worked from home, we had our PJs on, we had, you know, everything from that way up. And then at the moment, it sort of feels like the world has pushed us one way, and which is fully online, fully remote, and back into another way, which leads us into the space of hybrid working. So we get to a point where, has the world changed and evolved so that we as practitioners are still working hybrid in 2025? What's happening? What's the need? And what's the application of CI? Thanks, Anita. We got a bit too clever on our animations here, although we're very proud of them. Next, please. So I'd like to talk about now, how does the new world environment affect the practice of CI? So this is something we're going to talk about in the next breakouts for 10 minutes. In some places, we've seen this at RMIT, we became not just a nice to have, but we evolved into more of a must have function. And this could continue in the next few years. But there are a number of possibilities about 2025 because we don't know what the future holds. Could it be that the need for CI is even greater? Or do we think the demand for CI will completely drop off and we'll have to find something else to amuse ourselves with? Maybe we'll go fruit picking, I don't know, but something else. Or has higher education itself completely changed? So we had many challenges in our student spaces after COVID and during COVID. When the borders slammed shut to Australia in early 2020, that completely affected our student space and it completely affected the need that we had. So how might the sector reasonably change and what can we as practitioners do to help that? Another thought to ponder, and this is one that I think about, how do we future-proof the value of CI? It sounds like a no-brainer, but how do we continue to stay relevant? Because one thing we know is certainty has been eroded. What we thought was certain or semi-certain has now gone. Terry Horton, who's a future strategist and CEO of Future Path, wrote, the COVID pandemic has forever changed how we work, live and play. So thinking about those three framing devices, looking at the world as we are, so we look at the planet, yep, there will be 8 billion people on the planet. That is huge. When we think about that, you know, what are the needs on our planet in terms of food and resources and oil and everything else? Will there be another recession? Certainly the Australian media thinks so, and my bank manager might think so as well, interest rates going up and so forth. There might be labour shortages, there might be wars. We're seeing things, you know, tragically in the Ukraine, there's geopolitical conflicts and all of those sort of things. On a more micro level, how will we be playing? So as I mentioned before, selfish level, I haven't been able to travel overseas for 3 years. I'm going to in 3 weeks, sorry. So things have changed and people are more travelling locally. Will that continue into 2025? We have a bigger sense of connectivity. I mean, this conference being case in point, you know, talking to people around the world and not being in person. But what about work? Let's talk about work and how will we apply our trade as CI practitioners? Where's our value in the business and what's our organisation needing from us and what will they continue to need from us? For example, if we assume that work from home is going to stay an option, what do we do to meet that need with our client, with our customer base? Now, thought also, as awful as COVID was, we did get through it with a lot of pain because life finds a way and then we find a way. When the going gets tough, the tough get going, as they say. We term that resilience, okay? And that old rubber band that snaps back into shape. So that's a key point, I think, of being a CI practitioner is being resilient. Some thought bubbles for you as we move into this next session. Is our agenda thriving or reacting, or is it driving in 2025? Are we fighting for survival? And as I said, we'll have to find something else to amuse ourselves with. Are we still improving higher education? Are we still adding value? Or another thought bubble, which really intrigues me, is CI everybody's role, like health and safety in an organisation, for argument's sake? Is everybody involved in it? Or could it be that CI isn't a function or a service like we have at RMIT at the moment, but it's an expectation and capability in all employees rather than just a function? So what we're going to do now is break into some groups. You may see a couple of us sneaking around a little bit and discuss some specific points around where we think continuous improvement can go and what we can do about it. What can we do assuming this discomfort of hybrid working uncertainty continues? So we have specific points. What might be happening in 2025? Now, be imaginative. It's just a conversation. If you want to think, you know, maybe will we have flying cars or the hoverboards that Steph talked about before? You know, that would be fantastic. We're open to that. What was the next thing? What will we be doing and what will organisations need from us? What will the need be? And what will they likely be? And how do we continue to apply our trade? So it might be new technology, new tools, new ways of stakeholder management, all of those bits and pieces. So I'm going to drop you into some more rooms. I'm not sure it's the same rooms as last time, but if it is, enjoy. And we'll see you back at about 7 minutes past 12 Australian time, or 7 minutes past the hour. We'll see you shortly.
Dun, 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 dun.
I'd love to drop in a room if I could, Sally.
Sure. Give me 2 seconds.
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
I'll go on. I'll jump in one as well, if that's okay.
Sure.
Thank you. My talking part's over, so.
Let me pick
Fine.
one.
Thanks.
It's really hard to manage the breakout rooms. Because people join and leave and join and leave. So like the ones that I set up, some of them, I set them all up to have 3 people, and then half of the people left. And so then I reassigned people so that there was more than one person in a room.
Yeah, I
And
think
then,
May was saying that it can be quite challenging.
Yeah, so if you have to do it for another session, I would just kind of monitor. And
yeah, they come up for me, like the rooms come up for me, and you can see how many are in each one.
Oh,
Do you have that?
Yeah, I do
as well.
Yeah, so before I
Yeah, because
launched, I
room
went
6
through.
has none, so I'm assuming you move some of them around. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel bad for room 2. They only have 2 people. Oops. There was 3, but someone's left.
Is it still recording? I can't see it because I've got the.
Yes, it is.
Cool, perfect. I think it's going well. Lots happening, so hopefully that keeps people's, keeps people's focus.
Yeah,
which is good. This one's going for a bit longer, which is good. After I admitted people, Sally, did you untick it so it just automatically admitted people?
I didn't press anything.
You know, it must have just done it automatically because I didn't press anything either.
T might have done it. The IT person.
Oh, he might have. Yeah, that's true. Because he came in just before the start time.
Because he was doing another session at the same time. So
right. Yeah.
In two sessions.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, they're coming through. So I can't see any that are telling me that there's more to admit. So that's good. Well, I've got time. I'm just going to go and grab a water.
Sure.
Still going, yeah. Just in a breakout session. Going well, Sally. Sorry.
I've got another 2.5 minutes or so, I think.
Thanks for your help, Sally. Otherwise, I would have had too much to do, I think.
My pleasure. Yeah, there's a lot going on in this one, isn't there?
Yes. But hopefully that keeps everyone
engaged.
Yeah, exactly. Keeps everyone in the room, so to speak.
Yeah.
Okay, they've just got their 60 seconds, so they'll be back soon.
Perfect.
I've got the polls here as well, so if they need them, I can just move them over to the sharing one.
Oh, perfect.
Wow, what a fantastic conversation I made myself part of.
We went places in ours. We went places, yeah.
That's amazing. We'll do a bit of a playback. Would anyone like to do a bit of a share on what they talked about in their breakout session? If not, I will pick on someone. Anyone?
I'll go.
Go. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Hi everyone. We had a beautiful group. We the three of us, and we as we started to speak about the future, I had mentioned, like, I'd love for if in the future you could have a bit of like a 3D reality. You could put on your 3D glasses on, close your eyes, and you could be transported to kind of see family overseas. Or right now I've got, like, my kids are quite young. My parents are overseas and we won't get to see them very often. But if we could just transport ourselves, and it would feel like we were there with them, so we could, have those connections that we're not able to have necessarily through the phone. So, like, the future is really exciting, and what's probably going to happen, and might see less travel if we can, potentially do it through some virtual reality hologram type of means. So that was actually a really nice conversation.
CI by VR, fantastic. We've got some huge brains in this room. Anyone else want to share their vision or their thoughts about the future?
Michelle, oh, sorry.
No, Kate, please go ahead.
Okay. No, I was just going to say, we talked about, it feels so boring after hearing about VR, but in terms of structure, I think universities are, we heard about it yesterday, they're so complex, and it's almost like, I think the example was a flotilla. There's a whole heap of boats that are in the water together, and we're kind of heading the same way, but kind of not at the same time, and it's certainly not efficient. But one thing is, will our structure hold us back? And I know certainly at my institution, the slowness is something that kills us, and could potentially not necessarily be the death, but it's something that doesn't mean we can't get to the top quickly. And whether, because I think, Dan, you talked about ANZ Bank, who's trying to change their structure so they can be more responsive, but they're finding that very difficult. And that's something that higher education would really struggle at. Restructure after restructure, we're still not getting necessarily the benefits that we thought we would from those particular restructures. So
yeah, unreal. Yeah, thank you for that. I love that flotilla analogy. I can just, because there's a little puff of wind that only a couple of the boats get, and then they go off in that direction, or we've got a captain on the booze and
crash into each other. Yeah, it's not,
Michelle,
not
it
awesome.
was a Kiwi who gave us that analogy, so no wonder you loved it so much.
Lovely, fantastic. We've got time for one more contribution. Does anyone want to share?
Yep, sure, I can go.
Fabulous, off you go. Thank you.
Yeah. Hi, Michelle. Lovely to meet all of the RMIT gang. So in our team, we were chatting about how there will definitely be a more adaptation of hybrid working in terms of ensuring that we provide more collaboration and options for, like, more Zoom or the in-person interactions of the students in the university would be more of a social setting. They would come to the university more in terms of, like, trying to network and socialize, but there's definitely going to be a lot more appetite for more hybrid ways of working, and I think that might shape the difference in the way we tailor the student experience and how we would want to work on that moving forward.
Unreal. Thanks, Amina, and so nice to see you. It feels like such a community. Look, I think sounds like lots of different tangents in these discussions. I hope you guys all got something out of it, and even just a moment of reflection, which is always really lovely. We'll grab that last slide, thanks. We'll do a bit of a wrap up. So thank you everybody for joining today. We leave you with thinking about the next couple of years and thinking about what you can do to meet those needs. We've talked about how things have evolved since 2005 and evolved quite rapidly during COVID. And now we've thought about some of the tips and tricks in order to meet the future. So an absolute privilege once more to chat with you all today. Might wrap it up there. Dan, Pete, do you have anything further to add?
Oh, just a big, massive thank you from my end for that really considered additions that you all made, and this is absolutely for you, and it's just a few things to let float around in your head for the rest of today and the rest of tomorrow. Where am I headed, and how do I get there? So thanks very much.
Yeah, for me, it was just, like I said, you know, we as CI professionals probably need to think about what role we're playing leading our organisation in relation to improvement going forward in 2025. So maybe today it's all about thinking about, well, what am I going to do towards 2025 to make it happen, given that I'm now operating in a hybrid environment. So what do I need to do? So take away that to think about, because as a community, we should be able to come together and work this through. And this is what we want to do today. So thanks.
Absolutely. Thanks, Pete. Thanks, Dan. And big thank you again to Anita and Sally for helping us out today, and to the University of Melbourne for hosting this event. Speaking of hosting events, I'm not hosting it, but I'll invite anyone who's in Melbourne tomorrow night to come along for a little coffee at the pub in Prince Alfred and Carlton. Be there or be talked about. I'm joking. For all of those who aren't available, have a drink on us, or I'll buy you a drink in San Diego next year. Great to see you. Thank you so much for coming. Take care.
Thank you very much to Michelle, Peter and Dan. Thanks also to everyone who attended today. This does now bring us to the end of this session. We hope to see you at other conference sessions. Bye for now.